Hello YouTube, this is Frank from Happy Coder, and today, starting from this video, I'll be teaching you how to do Android mobile developing, how to create modern, simple mobile applications using Java and hopefully Kotlin. And today, in this very first tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to build a very simple one-page layout app using both of the two view layout paradigms you can choose from. To be more specific, how to use the constraint layout and the relative layout, the legacy ViewGroup option to build a very simple one-page application. And now let's fire up the Android Studio. While the Android Studio is loading, just a few quick words about the difference between the relative layout and the constraint layout. The constraint layout is something that it is enforced you to use starting from the third version, the third iteration of the Android Studio. And it takes a lot of inspiration from the Xcode IDE from Apple. What it is it is a with a week, what you see is what you get paradigm that relies heavily on the visual aspect of application developing. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to click on File and create a new project. Following our old convention, following the lineage of the applications we'll be building, we'll be naming our application as Hero Summoner. Add a space between the two words and click Next. And on this page, the most important thing is to choose the lowest supported API level, which in this case is API 15, which refers to the ice cream sandwich version of the Android SDK. And click on Next. And on this page, we'll be choosing the empty activity template because it allows us the maximum freedom to do whatever we want to the application, and click on Next. And on this page, we're going to be giving a name to the main Java file we'll be interacting with, the Java file that will be loaded as soon as the application is fired, and we're just going to name it as main activity for now, and click on Finish. And after a few moments, we're presented with a screen where the main activity.java file is prepared, and we have this activity underscore main XML file that corresponds to the main Java file. And as you can see, as soon as everything has been built by the IDE, the default supported view group is the constraint layout, which is something new for people who are using the latest, the third iteration of the Android Studio. And for the sake of presentation, for the sake of instruction, we'll be building our application using the constraint layout for the first half of the video. Now the default of the application has been built for us, and the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to click on the Hello World text view and delete it because it is not relevant to the application we'll be building. Just to add some graphics to our application, I have downloaded some files, some profile pictures for the heroes that we'll be summoning. The file structure of the Android Studio is that we need to put all the image resources into a folder named Resources. And to find it, first we're going to click on the App drop-down and click on the Resource folder and find the Drawable folder, which is going to contain all of our graphic assets. To find it, we're going to right-click on the Drawable folder and click on Show it in Explorer. And for the Mac users, you'll be choosing the Review in Finder option. And we're going to open the folder and paste all the nice images we found into this folder. Now, the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to place a text view widget where we're going to specify what this application is going to do. So we're going to go to the design layout for our application and drag and drop a text view widget into our layout, and we're going to position it right at the center. We can know that this text view is placed right at the center because we can see that there are two constraints linking on either side of the text view, bounding it to the edge of the screens. In this XML attributes editor, we can just go and find the text option, and as you can see, it is currently set as text view. We can just type in whatever we want the text box to say. For this one, we're going to name it as Hero Roster. And now you can see the text has been changed, and if we want to increase the text size, we can just go and search for text size attribute. Under this thing, we can just specify the exact size we want the text roster to have. In this case, let's let it have a text size of 24 units. And now let's engage in the fun part where we're going to drop all the graphic assets into this application. The method that you can add images into your application using Android developing tool is that we can use the image view widget. You can find the image view widget on the left hand side of the palette panel. Click on images and choose the image view widget. We're just going to drag and drop it in, and it provides us with a very intuitive interface where you can just click and choose on the picture you would like to add. In this case, the first hero we're going to add is Superman. Click on OK, and obviously the image size is much larger than the screen size we have, so we're going to resize it first by dragging on the handlebars on the edge of the images and resize it to our desired size. And while you're doing this, you can see that the aspect ratio of the image stays true to the original file, so you don't have to worry about messing up the aspect ratio. And for this one, I think this is the right size. To zoom and crop the image to cover the whole extent of the bounding box, we're going to go to the XML attribute editing panel and find the scale type option. Under the option menu, we're going to choose center crop, and you can see the image now covers the whole span of the bounding box. Let's add some vertical constraint to this image to match the parent, or even better, we can constrain it to the text view. And as you can see, all the margins surrounding the picture, surrounding the image view, has been specified in gray, very subtle texts for you to clearly perceive. And now let's add the remaining two heroes to our application. Same thing, we're going to drag and drop another image view into the application. This time let's choose Green Lantern. Same thing, it is obviously too big. Now we're going to resize it to match the general size of our Superman, about this big. And now let's add some constraint to this image view. And remember how to zoom the image up to cover the whole span? We're going to go to the XML table and find scale type, and then center crop. And if you think the image between the edge of the screen and the first image of Superman is too big, we can always go to the XML text editing panel, find the image view, which is this one, and edit the layout margin left to a integer that is smaller, for example 16 dp. And as you can see, because all the constraint layouts is all added properly, meaning that the Green Lantern image view is constrained to the position of the Superman image, as soon as we edited the position of the Superman image, the image of Green Lantern also changes its position. To make the point even more clearer, if we add this 16 dp to say 32 dp, you can see that the two images move together in unison, which is very nice. Saves you a lot of trouble to edit all the individual elements independently. Now let's change it back to 16 dp. And right now we can see some red squiggly lines indicating we have some errors. And in this case, if you ever see a red squiggly line, you can always left click on the error and hit Alt and Enter to see what option you have provided by the IDE to remedy such errors and issues. And in this case, we're going to add another line to regulate the layout. As you can see, the IDE is prompting us with another error because this image of the Green Lantern doesn't have a vertical constraint. And we can easily solve it by adding a vertical constraint and align it with the hero roster text image. And now everything is good. And the last thing we're going to do is that we're going to add another picture of our last hero, which is Nightwing. And now hopefully everything is ingrained in your brain at this point. We're going to add a image view, choose the image and resize it to align it with the preceding two heroes. And now we're going to choose the scale type for this image and also center crop it. And I personally feel like the space between the Nightwing image and the right edge of the screen is a little bit too. So let's go into the XML attributes panel and define the margin right to something that is smaller, say 8 dp. Now it's better. Now let's go and add some text views indicating the hero names for our three images. And the method of adding texts into our Android applications is going to be via the help of text views. So let's go to the design panel and click on text, and then select the text view widget and drop it in. And for the sake of design, let's constrain the first text view widget to the left hand side of the screen edge. Constraint is vertical constraint to the bottom of the Superman image. And now let's add another constraint to the right side of the text view and select and slide it to align at the center point of the Superman image. And to make the space between the Superman image and the text view a little bit more compact, we're going to go to the text panel, select on the text view, reduce the margin top to something, let's say 8 dp. And now let me show you how to add the text, how to edit the XML attribute, not within the design panel but in the text panel. So in this case, we're going to edit the text of the text view widget. The method you're going to use is that you're going to find the Android text attribute and you're going to edit the value of the text widget to whatever you desire. In this case, obviously it's going to be renamed to Superman. And because we have selected the width as wrap content, it stays centered. We don't have to readjust its position. And in the case of the rest of the two heroes, we're going to use essentially the same method. We're going to select on the text view widget, drop it in, align its vertical constraint to the bottom of the Green Lantern image. And in this case, let's edit the text in this design panel. Rename the text view to Green Lantern. And very quickly, let's do the same thing to Nightwing. All set. Now let's go to the text panel and have a quick glimpse to check everything is okay. In this case, we're missing something. So the Nightwing text panel is not constrained. Let's go to the design panel and align it properly. Now everything is good. So you can see that everything in the constraint panel commands you to constrain everything. Essentially, the IDE has to know the relative position each element has in terms of its relationship with every other elements on the same within the same application. And the last thing we're going to add is some buttons, which are going to allow the users to click on and recruit our heroes. So within the design panel, we're going to choose on the button widget and drop it in. For its vertical alignment, we're going to align it to the text view of the Superman hero name. And for its horizontal constraints, same thing, we're going to align it to the either side of the screens and just ever so slightly slide it in. When you're working with a mouse, interacting with the Android Studio IDE, it could be hard to move the element into your desired position, and this is where editing the numeric attributes within the text panel can come in very handy. If you think, for instance, in this case, I feel like the Superman text and the button, there's the space between them is too large. So let's go and edit the margin top and give it a value of 0 dp. And now it's nice and compact. And for the margin left attribute, let's give it a value. I think it is good at this point. And let's rename the button into something more intuitive, more comprehensive. Let's name it as Recruit. Very quickly, let's add 2 more buttons to correspond to the rest of the 2 heroes we have. Same thing, constrain it to the left, constrain it to the top, slide it in, and rename it as Recruit. And now the last button. Let's do some cleanup. Let's do some house cleaning to make sure that everything is perfect. So that's it, guys. That's essentially the gist of how to create a very simple one-page layout app using the constraint layout with the help of the latest iteration of the Android Studio IDE. Hey guys, so we just realized that this video has way exceeded the 10 minutes time mark. So we decided to cut the second part and publish it for the next week. If you found this video to be informative, please give it a like, comment down below, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel. And with that said, I will see all of you in the next week's episode. Bye bye.